What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm BLAIDEN, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. We have a great episode planned for you all today. We are officially into the NFL playoffs. Wild card weekend is officially upon us. We're going to talk about some of those games, what we expect, who we expect to move on to the divisional round. But before we get into all that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't have anything cool to report.
Exasperated
I do this podcast
sigh.
a little bit too often.
Fair enough.
Twice a week have something interesting happening in my life. It's not.
Imagine if we did
like
a
that.
daily podcast and I had to ask you
And
every
then I'd be
single
telling you
day.
I'll be telling you about my breakfast at that point. But yeah, I've got nothing. I'm doing good.
I'm glad. Theo?
I'm doing all right. I will try to conjure something interesting out of thin air. I went bird watching a couple of days ago. And saw some interesting stuff. I saw American Widgeon. I saw Woodhouse's Scrub Jay. I saw Stellar's
That's not
Jay.
a real thing.
Woodhouse's Scrub Jay. Look it up on to the kids at home.
Bro is lying to us.
And that's always something I try to do something I always try to do at the beginning of the year is keep track of all the birds I see for a year. But sometimes I forget and it'll be like January 18th and I've already seen two. And I'm like, well, maybe next year. But this year I've got them all written down so far, all the birds for the year. So we're at I think 20 in a couple days, which isn't that much. But we're hoping, I'm hoping for by the end of the year to be at maybe 200, something like that. If I could get to actually maybe a little more than that. Maybe let's shoot a little bit higher. Let's say 250. If I could get to 250 species of birds, that would be pretty good. That might be a little bit ambitious because I've seen, I think it's like around 350 species in my whole life, but you do see kind of the same ones over again pretty often. So that's
he's gonna be traveling a lot.
I'll be traveling, so we'll see. It's doable. It's very doable.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll provide updates with the 250 mark as time goes on. I just made up that number kind of arbitrarily, though.
You'd have to hit like 5 new species a week.
Yeah, I mean, roughly. You would, you would. That might be a little bit high. Maybe I'll bring the mark down to 200. I'll say 200.
4 new species a week.
4 new a week. That can be done. That can be done because there'll be trips where you see like 50 new ones if you go out west or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's easy. But we'll see if we can get to 200. We're at 20 right now, so 10% of the way there.
I believe in you. I believe in you, Theo. I have full faith. But let's talk about some football. I figure, I think the most interesting game is in the AFC, so we're going to save that to the end and start with the NFC and start with the least interesting game in the NFC, which is 49ers Seahawks. As much as we do love Geno Smith and Pete Carroll and all the Nwosu and that whole story, it's probably coming to an end. This is probably it.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's pretty rare that a team sweeps a team in the regular season and then loses in the playoffs. The Seahawks have lost Jordan Brooks for the rest of the year, which is a big loss because now they're starting, what's his name? I knew it. Number 58. Cody Barton is a good linebacker, and then they've got, kind of a rotating cast of characters, and they already had a big disadvantage when it came to just in the box, right? The 49ers could run all over them in kind of both of these two matchups, and now one of their best front 7 players is out. It's a bit tough to beat a team if they can just pound the rock between the tackles the entire game, and eventually you need to create some havoc and make some plays in the backfield, and it's just a little bit difficult to maybe see where those plays are going to come from Seattle. Right. So I think Brock Purdy, to me, the 49ers are not my Super Bowl team because I don't trust him. I don't trust his accuracy. I don't quite trust his mechanics. He's pretty short. He's good for a couple passes, batted in the air every game. I just, and the Seahawks played him pretty well last time. I think that he was playing a little bit hurt, but I thought it was pretty, and because of that, I think it was visible that he didn't really want to take any kind of hit, because I think he was playing with an oblique injury, if I remember correctly. But so that may have, who knows how much of a part that played in it. But he didn't play that good against the 49ers. I mean, against the Seahawks, and that ended up being a one possession game the last time that they played. And I'm always kind of wondering if his Linsanity run is going to come to an end. I think that he, with the accuracy, could miss some balls or put it in a spot where it could be picked. I know that the 49ers had a pretty easy, the Seahawks dropped a pick six in that game. So if they can kind of get Purdy uncomfortable for somehow, if they can conjure up some sort of pass rush, which is going to be a big if, but it's going to be raining, though. There's obviously like biblical rainstorms in California right now. I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think it's going to be that bad in up where the 49ers are playing. Like I think in LA, I don't even know if you could play a football game right now because of how much it's raining. But weather game, the Seahawks do have the quarterback advantage, but I do think when you look at the 49ers offense versus the Seahawks defense, like I just don't know about how they're going to match up when it comes to running the football. Especially without Jordan Brooks. So and then when you look at the Seahawks offense versus the 49ers defense, obviously across the board, you've got
to wash
the 49ers winning that matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers are kind of red hot coming into this game. I don't know how many in a row they've won at this point, 8 or 9 or whatever.
A lot.
The Seahawks offense has, I think, scored 20 total points in 2 games, and now you're missing Brooks. And the path, I agree, like the path to a Seahawks victory is a little hard to imagine other than rain game. Purdy shows why he was a 7th round pick, possibly. And you just capitalize on a few mistakes. And it's like, it's like how any upset could possibly happen. But from like a straight up game plan sense, I don't see the path for them being super, super clear.
There is one thing that the 49ers defense is obviously extremely good. We all know this. They're the best in the league right now, but they do have a weakness, and it's really popped up, especially in the past couple weeks. And that's the safety play. I think Hufanga, especially, like, he's a darling. I think he looks like Troy Polamalu. He's made some plays in the backfield, but he has bad eyes. And the 49ers are prone to blowing some coverages on the back end. And the Seahawks are a very good deep passing team, right? With DK and Lockett, and Geno is a very good deep ball thrower. They can get some explosives and obviously holding the ball a long time, it's difficult against this.
You're going to need to buy time.
But not every deep pass happens when you hold the ball a long time. Really, right. If you dial up a shot, sometimes it's you hit the top of the drop, puts a mark on it, and let your guy run under it. Yeah. It doesn't take that long. That's how
Burrow
the Bengals
and Chase
can beat
did that all last year.
So there is a chance, maybe, if they're aggressive down the field, that they can get some explosive plays. But again, we'll see what the weather conditions are like and how easy that'll be. But that is another thing that could potentially go in the Seahawks direction. And that's the formula. You need some Purdy picks, some plays where his mechanics are off and like airmails it right to the safety or something like that. You'll need to hit some of those deep shots, and you'll need some luck. You'll need to go for it on fourth downs. You'll need to go for it on fourth downs, and you'll need to, get some fumbles. Maybe that's obvious. That's not.
If this is a weather game, if this is a bad weather game, I think the Niners just keep it on the ground. I think they're just going to be like, yeah, this is a McCaffrey game, and he'll go for 30.
I agree. They're not going to be like, let's air it out.
Let's give Brock Purdy.
And with the Seahawks defense being what it is, you can easily get away with that if you're the 49ers. I mean, really, any game is going to be a ground game if the 49ers can get away with it. So I certainly think that's what you're going to see from them this game.
Yeah.
I think you'll see that from them a lot in the playoffs. I think ultimately that's the thing that's going to hurt a lot of the teams that they go against is they're just going to be able to pound the rock better.
Yep, I agree. And
it'll
it'll come down to the Seahawks creating explosives, because if they can tackle well, which they haven't really done this year, but like, is Purdy going to create that many explosive passing plays for the 49ers? Because Geno can for the Seahawks. Right. So it'll come down to just a couple explosive plays. And if they can't connect deep because of the rain, they're not going to win. I think that's kind of what it comes down to. And I don't really see it happening. I think that this one could be pretty lopsided for the 49ers. Obviously, there's the great equalizer, the weather and all that. But I just don't see it.
They're 9.5 point favorites. Seahawks might be able to cover if the weather stinks. But I still think
if it's really low scoring, and the last time the 49ers played in a monsoon, it was the Bears game week 1, and they lost that one. But who knows? It's the Bears ended second in the league in rushing efficiency this year, so they could kind of keep it on the ground in a way that maybe the Seahawks can't. And it's been a good season regardless of what happens for the Seahawks. Obviously, to finish with a winning record, to be in the playoffs and have a top 5 pick, you really couldn't ask it to go any better. And they're playing with house money. They'll have that underdog mentality. Pete Carroll already said, unfortunately, we're playing the 49ers. Oh, woe is me. Unfortunately, they're so stacked. They're so hot. There's no way. He's already putting that out there we have just are the complete house money underdogs. And, maybe they can conjure up some magic. Obviously, Pete Carroll's an amazing head coach and someone who is a great motivator. So, who knows? But I don't have too much to say about this game. Besides, I think that the 49ers have a huge advantage in both trenches, and it's going to be tough in the rain to overcome that if you can't really air it out like the Seahawks maybe would like to do and hit those deep shots. So it all comes down to that.
I probably will not roll with the upset there, but a game where I will roll with the upset, Vikings Giants. See, I know in my heart and soul that Justin Jefferson could go for 190 on 15 catches and 2 touchdowns, right? But my gut tells me that I should pick the Giants to win this game because the Vikings are frauds. And they don't really have anything else outside of that.
If I flipped this might sound dumb, if I flipped their records right now and it was the Giants that were 13-4 and the Vikings had barely snuck into the playoffs, I wonder if you would say that the Giants are the ones that are frauds and you'd be picking the Vikings as an upset.
But
I don't hate the take. I think there's a good chance. I mean, obviously we saw they played earlier the year. It was a 1-score game. It was really close. And I thought the Giants did a decent job moving the ball through the air in that game and all that type of stuff. But ultimately, you are all year, the Vikings have banked on winning close games because Justin Jefferson is that good. And I do not buy the Giants' pass defense being able to hold up.
I don't buy the Vikings offensive line being able to hold up. That's one thing that I think it will be interesting is, they've been so banged up recently, and, you've got Dexter Lawrence versus the interior of that entire, I always get it, Dexter Lawrence and Dalvin Tomlinson mixed up in my head. Dexter Lawrence is the one on the Giants, and Dalvin Tomlinson is the one on the, so they're very interesting. I think they're the Vikings are 14th in point differential right now, and the Giants are 15th. Right. This is a very even matchup. The spread is -3. The spread is -3, and that the Vikings are at home, and usually home field advantage is worth 2-3 points when it comes to the spread. So this is pretty much even, and they're giving it to the Vikings because they're playing at home. Right. That's kind of what this is coming down to. That's what Vegas is telling us about this game. And I tend to agree. When I agree, if it's a toss up, let me pick the underdog just because I got to pick some upsets somewhere, I guess. Right? I don't want to pick the favorites all the time.
I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. I'm picking all the favorites because those are the teams that have the best odds to win. No, I don't know. I mean, it's a close game.
Lose money betting.
No, that's how you're going to win money
not
betting
betting
is taking a bunch of minus money all the time instead of trying to hit big with the plus money. There's your betting advice: is bet the favorites. They don't want you to do it. They want you to bet the plus money. They don't want you to bet the minus money. Anyway, it'll be whoever wins this game gets the distinct honor of losing in the next round. Is what right. I think is the case. The Vikings run a very vanilla defense. It's light boxes, coverage shells that are always too high coverage cells. And those quick passes are going to be available for the Giants to access, right? And you can run on this front. This is the best rushing team versus a light box in the NFL. And honestly, I think they could have accessed that a little bit more in their last game. I don't think that I would have liked to see a bigger Saquon game than what happened last time. I think they should feed him. I think they should lean into that. And yeah, if they can get the ball out fast, obviously the Vikings kind of have the mismatch in the trenches with Zadarius Smith and Daniil Hunter. But if you can get the ball out fast versus these zones, and if Daboll can be on an A game, because for a long time, they know what to expect, right? The Vikings aren't going to do anything crazy or try to confuse anybody. They're just trying to not allow the big play. And the Giants don't turn the football over, really. Daniel Jones has not thrown very many picks this year, and they can run the football. So they're a team that I actually do kind of trust these days to just go down the field, get an 11-play drive and without making a horrible mistake. I actually trust Daniel Jones and this Giants offense to do at least that, because I think that they are good when it comes to just kind of the quick stuff, the short stuff. And overall, I am picking the Giants. I think that the Vikings are just it's gonna come back and get them eventually, man. It's gonna come back.
How many one possession games have they won?
They're 11-0. They're 11-0, and the Giants
You get to a point where they're winning them for a reason, though. I understand, they're not going to go win 11 straight off of just no luck, but
they are second to last in yards allowed and fourth to last in points allowed this year.
Second to last in yards allowed, fourth to last in points allowed. Is that good or bad?
Bad.
They have the most points allowed.
They're 28th.
Right. This Giants offense has a decent amount of it's very even. It's very even. But I think what's going to come happen is last time these two teams played, the Vikings ran a lot of play action. The Giants aren't very good at defending play action. They tend to get burned over the top when that happens. Last time the Vikings ran play action, I think 16 times. They were pretty successful, had 117 yards and a touchdown doing so. So you got to watch out for that in this game. But, the Vikings offensive line has gotten even more beat up over the last 2 weeks, and they didn't take any sacks running play action, and that's pretty risky to do. If you're the Vikings, is turn your back to this offensive line and hold the ball a little bit longer. I think that's one way that the Giants can maybe flip things, is generate a little bit, a couple more sacks in those kind of play action situations. That might be one area that if they could do that, I think they have a chance to flip what was a very even matchup that went against them in the last game towards them in this one. I also think what?
I thought they had a decent number of sacks against the Vikings in the last game.
They didn't have any play action sacks. They may have had
maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think you guys are I think it's a very even matchup. I like the -3 line, but I like the Vikings in this one. I mean, the Giants have won 2 games in the back half of the season against the Colts and Washington or whoever. I don't think they're a particularly strong team. I think they have weaknesses all over the place. Yeah, they don't turn the ball over too much, and they'll be able to attack the Vikings to some extent, but the Vikings probably are going to be able to hit explosives, and the Giants have, in my opinion, no hope of covering Justin Jefferson or even Hawkinson. I think they're going to eat.
Yeah, I think that is possible. It's definitely very possible, but I also think I think Saquon is going to eat on the other side. So it's interesting, and I guess for a lot of the game, the Vikings are the safe pick here. The Vikings are the safe pick. I think that they should be favored But I do think that if there is going to be an upset, it's this one. So I don't know. I just like to pick some upsets.
It's the most logical upset, and it makes my heart happy to do it. So
I'm going Vikings. I think if it was 2 minutes, if it was a tie game, 2 minutes left, if the Giants had the ball and needed to score, I wouldn't feel great about it. And if the Vikings did have the ball and needed to score, I'd feel pretty good about it. Close game, I'll go Vikings.
Yeah, that could be true. Saquon had 334. I mean, Daniel Jones had 334 yards the last time they played. That's a lot, but only one touchdown. Saquon only got 14 carries. I just think that number needs to go way up. I really think that is the way I think the Giants can control the tone of this game with their rushing attack. And in the last one, they just didn't do it. The Vikings can't quite do the same thing with Dalvin and their rushing attack. It really has fallen off over the last half of the season. They haven't been able to move the ball on the ground the same way the Giants have. And I think that's going to be the key is like, you've got this amazing running back. You've got a very good running game because of it. That's designed very well. You got Daniel Jones's legs as well. I think there is a world where they didn't game plan well, and it was still close in the last one. I really think they aired it out a bit too much. And yes, they went down early. That's a big part of it in the last game. So I don't necessarily think like, oh, they're so stupid, they should have been running the whole time, because they had to kind of work their way back from a deficit. But I think going into this game, I think that they are going to come out early, and I think they're going to set the tone. And I think they can do that in a way the Vikings can't. And I think maybe that is going to be the path to the Giants' victory here is just like a death by 1,000 cuts. Like I said, this is a pretty vanilla light box, too high shell defense. Like, Giants dominate control of possession in that case. Maybe they don't hit the explosives, but this could be a death by 1,000 cuts type of thing. And the Vikings on the other side, all it takes is some negative plays, some sacks, it's very possible they get them against this Vikings offensive line. And that's the game I'm envisioning in my head. But you're also right. Like, Justin Jefferson had 133 yards, 12 receptions, 133 yards.
Yeah.
Last time.
I'm envisioning the exact opposite. I'm envisioning that the Vikings get out ahead early because they can generate explosives. And then once the Giants are behind the 8 ball, they have to move away from Saquon all the time. And that kind of leads them to, passing more than they want to. And that's kind of what happened last game. And I mean, a negative, definitely negative plays that the Giants can generate is going to be a big deal. But I could say the same thing about the Vikings. They want to, or if the Giants want to keep the ball on the ground the whole time and the Vikings can generate some negative plays, it could be the same thing.
Yeah, there are definitely two different outcomes this way. This game could potentially go.
either the Giants win or the Vikings win. And
Matt, that's ridiculous. That could never happen.
No way,
man. That is crazy to think that could happen.
Well, great one, Matt.
I'm sticking with the Vikings because they have the better record, first off, and that's all I'm looking at.
That's all he cares
about. They went better. Why would they be the higher seed?
So true.
Yes.
Great one, Matthew. But the last wild card game in the NFC is Bucks Cowboys, and I want nothing more than for Dak Prescott to bury Tom Brady.
Oh my God, Dak! People hate the Cowboys, dude. They really think the Cowboys are ass.
This is the most dick-ridden quarterback versus the most hated quarterback. It's like insane.
Yeah, you would think that the Cowboys didn't have anything going for them the way people talk about them going into the playoffs. Like, their average, the Cowboys' average margin of victory is 15 points. And they score a bunch of points per game, especially since Dak has come back. It might be first in the entire league. They have a great turnover differential. They have the advantage over the Bucks in basically every single category right now. The Bucks are not going to be able to run the football. We know that right now. And the entire year, they haven't been able to throw really and overcome that one-dimensionality thing. Like last year, they weren't they were a fine running team. This year, they're just horrible. But last year, Brady was playing at, I think, a different level, and Godwin and everybody on the left, which was calling plays better. Everything was better under Arians, and Brady was able to throw it 700 times and maintain a pretty crazy efficiency rate. Like, that's just not the case this year. So, like, they aren't exactly like dangerous through the air. It's not like, oh, they're one dimensional, but that one dimension's really good. No, they stink at it. They're horrible unless it's the last 2 minutes of game and they're going no huddle and Brady is the one making the decisions. If they come out in this game and they just let Brady no huddle it the entire game, maybe then they'll be able to win. But that's just not going to happen, because if it did, they would have done, if they wanted to do that, they probably would have done it already. So I actually think, I know that it's, Brady is playoff GOAT, Dak choker, interception boy, like, all the stats don't matter. Like, we all know that it's just going to get close in the end. And it very well may, because that's always how it goes with this stupid Bucs team. But I'm going with my gut. I'm going with what the stats tell me and what the film says. And that is that Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback. And the Cowboys are a very formidable team. And the Buccaneers are not. Now, I know Sean Payton said, like, it's dangerous to get these bad division winners in the playoffs because they're, tough and they've been on all these close games and, they're playing with house money and all that, but I don't know.
House money at home.
House money at home, right? And
I
house
actually
money with
kind
Tom
of agree
Brady.
with that one. Like, but the Bucs don't have
the
that.
Bucs don't have that because they're not playing with house
really
money.
Playing on house money
because it's Brady and they were supposed to be awesome, right? They are actually very much supposed to be here, and they're supposed to be better. It's been underwhelming the entire time.
Right.
So yeah, the Cowboys have the biggest mismatch of the entire playoffs right now is the Buccaneers rushing offense versus the Cowboys rushing defense, and maybe just the Cowboys defense versus the Buccaneers offense point blank period. Like, I don't think that I know the Buccaneers won in the regular season, but I think as the season has gone on, the Bucs have kind of fallen apart and the Cowboys have, I don't know if they've gotten stronger, but with everything I've seen over the last year, it's just tough for me to predict this Bucs team to win a playoff game, because so many times it's been like, well, this week they'll turn it around, like, oh, here they go, they're going to make a run to end the year, they're going to look better, they're going to figure it out, and they just never do. Like, yes, they won a terrible division, but they never actually looked good for any of this, and they're kind of stumbling into the playoffs. Like, it's to me, it's going to be a bounce back game for Dak and the Cowboys, and I think they're going to win this one. I think they're going to win this one and cover the spread. I think they're going to win it easily.
I mean, the spread's 2.5, so.
Oh, God. They just need to win then, like by a field. They could kick a game-winning field goal after losing the whole game and still cover the spread.
It's a pretty light spread for them. No, the Bucs do not wow me at all. Like, I think this really just comes down to the Bucs just don't have it, like, at all. They came out of the bye week, lost to the Browns. The Browns. Do you understand how bad you have to be on offense to score 17 points against the Browns that have the worst front seven in football? Right? If you're struggling there, bro, Dallas is going to like rupture a hole in your offensive line. Like they have. I don't really think there's. This should be a
Wirfs is banged
if
up.
we were
The
doing
interior
if
of the
we were
defensive
doing
line
locks,
is
I would
no
lock
good.
this game.
Yeah, it's the Bucs have not been able to generate a whole ton, and it's not like their pressure. They've had Shaq Barrett out for they've missed him pretty severely, and they're now against the Cowboys defense. One thing that does help is Brady gets the ball out faster than anyone in the league right now. His sack rate is like hilariously low. He just doesn't take sacks anymore. Now in the week 1 game, Parsons did get him a couple times, so maybe that can change, but he can kind of take away that advantage that the Cowboys have just by getting the ball out just so incredibly fast. But yeah, the Bucs defense is 27th in pressure rate. They really haven't been able to, it's not like they're great at preventing big plays, and the Dallas offense is pretty good at hitting him. Once every game, Dak is going to hit some crazy seam ball up the middle of the field, and they've actually been a pretty explosive offense down the field, and there's just really no advantages. There's really not that many at all that I can find for the Buccaneers. So yeah, except like
it's weird. The Bucs are dead last in in running. Like, they are the worst rushing offense in the NFL, dead last in every category. Attempts, yards per attempt, touchdowns,
they're by far
all
the
of
worst.
it. But there were they only have 3 games where they've run for over 100 yards this year, and one of them was week 1 where they went for 150.
And I just think that's a fluke. That's why that week 1 game seems like a fluke to me, because I just don't think they're doing that again. I could maybe there's a game, like, obviously on the other side of Trayvon Diggs, like the corner play for Dallas hasn't been great, but Bland, I think, has been getting better and is somewhat of an answer. I know when they were starting old boss man Fat on the other side, he was just getting obliterated. But Bland is, I think, an answer that can hold up. Maybe not all the time. Maybe they get beat a couple times on that down the field on the other side there. That's how they've lost a couple games this year. But I don't know, man. I don't know if there's any dissent here, if we have any big Brady guys among my co-hosts who think the GOAT's going to pull it out.
I am not nearly as confident as you two. Oh my God. How many? I'm not falling for Cowboys on paper ever again. Sorry. The Bucs,
I didn't even
the
fall
Bucs just against the Browns.
I didn't even fall for Cowboys on paper.
The Cowboys are walking into this game just lost by 20 to Washington.
That is true.
So let's not act like they're strolling into the playoffs. And like, yeah, they've looked good recently, but against like the Titans, who are just completely like not a real team at this point, or the Eagles with not their starting quarterback and stuff like that. I like the Cowboys in this game because I do think there's a big roster difference. But yeah, I think if Brady can get the ball out quick, he's still got the receivers to give him trouble. And I think the Cowboys are like the Cowboys bozo gene. The Mike McCarthy might blow a dumb playoff game. That is like it's not made up. And you see a lot of hate for them on Twitter, but that does not mean it is not true. And Dak, he does throw a lot of dumb interceptions. He does. And that is asking, like, is a Cowboys disaster game possible? 100%.
I think it's possible, but I think that people really think it's probable. I think people think it's probable, and that's why I get so fired up about it. Is I almost feel like I've got to be a bit of a counterculture to everyone who thinks it's just a lock that Dak has a disaster class and the Cowboys stink because they're the Cowboys, and Kellen Moore is ass, and everything about the Cowboys is ass. Trayvon Diggs is ass. Everything is like ass. Brady is the GOAT. So it just really feels like, you're right, Matt. It is possible that the Buccaneers win this thing, but no one ever gives the Cowboys any credit for the things they do well. And I do think, like, yes, Cowboys on paper, this isn't the 49ers, right? This isn't a good playoff team that they're playing. So you could say, like, oh, the Cowboys have, played well against horrible teams recently, or they played well against bad teams. It's like, I think the Buccaneers might just be a bad team as well, man. Like, it is.
Oh, they're bad.
They're bad, right?
They wouldn't be this. We'd be talking about the Carolina Panthers right now if J.C. Horn was healthy. So it's. Right. I'm not disagreeing with it.
Would you take the Panthers to beat the Cowboys, Matt?
No, but
even at home.
About the Bucs. Come on. Even at home, who cares? Oh my God. They regardless, I am not getting on my soapbox for the Cowboys. I'll pick them to win. I even agree that 2.5 points, I mean, they're either going to lose a game or they're going to win by 3 scores. The Cowboys love beating up on teams they should beat. It's like, we're not going to go beat this team by 14. We're going to beat them by 30 or whatever.
Right. But the Cowboys are prone to like that random 50-point win that can kind of skew their differentials for the rest of the year. It's happened a couple times. Mm-hmm. But
the Vikings
I don't know, man. I agree. They're not a perfect team. They're not my pick to make it out of the NFC, even though on paper they do look quite good. I do think, as I tweeted on Twitter, the Eagles
have a lot of people who
pick.
make mistakes,
Yeah.
I'm surprised the Eagles are your pick out of the NFC.
I am not. I am not surprised at all that's your pick.
Why? Really. Why are you guys?
People are picking them.
That's true. I agree with that.
That's
it's like a market inefficiency, right? They're the favorites. They're the ones. I think that's kind of where a lot of my picks come from, is almost like market inefficiencies where, like, yes, there's a very good chance that they don't make it, But no one's picking the number 1 seed, like clearly the best team in the NFC this year. Like no one is picking. Even Blaiden, you're the biggest Eagles.
I know.
And you're like, oh, I don't know. Like you're losing faith as we get closer to the playoffs.
No, I'm not losing faith. I'm not losing faith. Their defense hasn't.
I guess I've got to pick. Like I guess I'll pick them if there's a 50-50 shot. You take. What do you mean you're not losing faith? I'm not. It's not that I'm losing faith, bro. Jalen Hurts has been injured. Hurts has been hurt.
like,
You're mad at the defense. You were like, I don't know if I trust the defense.
The defense isn't that good. Every time they've played a good offense this year, they've struggled. Every time they've played a remotely good offense this year, they've let up like 30 points.
Who did you have them losing to, Blade?
The 49ers.
I
think the 49ers have the offense. I think that can give the Eagles some problems.
The 49ers can give. This is not a
everyone. They can give everyone problems. They can give everyone problems. But I just don't think the Eagles defense is quite that good.
Over the last month, guess what team has the highest pressure rate with 4 players in the entire league over the last month?
It's what, the Eagles?
Yes. And that was my concern.
They have the most sacks.
They've been turning it up. They've been turning it up lately. The front seven, I think, has been balling out recently. Anyway, we got to get down to the wild card games. But at any rate, I don't even know where this came from. But and that's kind of my market, and that's why I have the Cowboys going on a little bit farther than some teams do. Because people are like, you think the Cowboys could beat the 49ers? You are smoking crack. Is like so many people commented that, like, no way. There is a 0.000% chance, saying it with their whole chest. There is no chance the Cowboys could possibly beat the Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, yes, the 49ers are very hot right now and they've got this great defense, but like they played they had a shot to win them in the last round or last year, and it came down to the ref like fumbling and bumping into Dak Prescott that kind of lost the game. I mean, obviously it would have been a pretty amazing play to score there, but like it was a 1-score game and they had a chance at the end, and then there was that chaotic ref play. So like even last year without like a Mr. Irrelevant starting quarterback, like the Cowboys had a shot in that one. Like, oh my God, people act like Dak is a lock to throw 5, and maybe he does, but I don't know. So I'm all about the market inefficiencies. And if everyone if people always get on me for like trying too hard to be different, and I do try to be different. Like if everyone thinks one thing, but there's like a good chance the other thing happens, like I'll be like, I'll be on the other side then. I'm not going to subscribe. You got
to be careful to not be like
if everything
a sheep of the other herd.
Right. If everyone thinks one thing is going to happen, and like that thing is like everyone thinks, I'm not going to be like, oh, Seahawks are going to shred the 49ers, dude. Like everyone thinks that's going to happen. I do too, right? Because it's more than likely going to happen. Right. But then you get into some of these, like it's a little bit more of a toss up than people think, but everyone is just like piling on for some unfair reason. I'll try to pretty vocally get on board the other side.
I don't think picking the Eagles is like a bad pick. My big thing is like I'm taking defenses that have proven to be.
What makes you so scared of their defense again? That doesn't make sense.
They just haven't. They have not performed well against elite offenses this year.
Like who?
Like the Cowboys the last time they played, and given they had Minshew at quarterback, so that like
didn't Minshew give them the ball a bunch of times? They played good against the Cowboys earlier in the season. No, I guess that was that with
Cooper Rush. Right. No, but it was they've played the offenses that they struggled against. They let up 35 week 1 against the Lions. They let up 33 against the Packers. When they lost to Washington, they allowed 32. Like they haven't, and it's not even that it's like they've played bad. It's just they haven't played anyone. So it's hard to tell if like when they go up against an offense like the 49ers, what they'll do. And here's the thing, like if Hurts gets time to rest in the bye week and he's back to full form next week, they've probably got it because their offense can just win in so many ways. But like,
and that's the thing about the defense too, is like when I look at their defense, it's like they're not necessarily that bad. Like they've got Jordan Davis. I think
they've got good players.
Is he playing?
Jordan, I'm pretty sure Davis is healthy. He should be.
He does not see the field that much.
No, he doesn't. I'm trying to think if he's even playing because I know he got banged up again. I don't know.
Banged up again?
He did, but I think he came back. So not that Jordan Davis is like the only thing, but TJ Edwards is way better than I thought he would be. So there's good players everywhere. They've got the good safety duo, and there were a couple spots of weakness. But anyway, their pressure rate being so good over the last month is kind of what sold me on them, because I remember looking early in the season and they didn't quite have that elite pressure rate, that like elite get to the quarterback with 4 guys, allows you to drop more dudes into coverage type of defense. But now they're kind of getting into that, and I think that's kind of what.
But they've also, they've played Tennessee, who's no good. They've played the Giants. They've played the Bears, who have like the highest pressure rate allowed in the league. And then they played the Saints. They played the Saints in Dallas with no.
You just turned into an Eagles.
I'm not an Eagles hater. I'm just saying
this is Eagles.
You hate the Eagles.
It's not like clear cut vision anymore. To like.
It's over.
It's over.
If Hurts comes out of this bye week and is lighting the field on fire, I'm back on. But like, if he's not 100%, like the same thing with like Lamar against the Bengals. We're going to talk about Bengals Ravens. Like, if Lamar comes back, it's like he might come back, but if he's not 100%, it doesn't really matter.
I don't know. I think he played and now he's got a bye. Yeah, he played and now he's got a bye. So I think Hurts is going to be fine. But anyway, we got to talk about the AFC playoff game here.
All right, Bills Dolphins. Tua's not playing. It's going to be Skylar Thompson. Do we have?
Is it really?
That's who's expected to play.
No, it's Skylar Thompson.
Man.
Yeah.
Look, Skylar Thompson had that one nice throw, and I'll be honest, I hadn't paid that much attention to what he was doing. I was watching some of him the other day. It's not looking good for.
He's a 7th round pick, right? And we'll see if Bridgewater can develop.
Fair enough. I don't want to give too much hate to him, but dude.
Yeah, he stinks, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Skylar Thompson, who is listening to this. God bless you, but the line is like 13 points. This is like a bad regular season game. I can't remember the last time I saw a playoff game with a line that bad, and for good reason.
Yeah, it's really bad. The Bills are winning this game.
Tua is necessary to this offense, at least compared to the backups.
Right, because what makes Tua good is his like kind of manipulation. He can move linebackers out of their spots, like with his eyes and kind of with subtle shoulder movements. He can kind of get these linebackers to jump out of lanes or move, and then he snaps back to the other side, to the other read where he actually wants to go, and then it's got the quick trigger and the accuracy, and he can hit it. Skylar Thompson and Teddy don't quite have that type of like manipulation, so they're holding the ball a little bit longer because they're not really manipulating guys out of their zones, and the offensive line can't really hold up, so you get the pressure rate goes up, right?
Terran Armstead's out too, isn't he?
Yeah, we'll see if he can play too. It's a little bit up in the air. It's probably not looking good. I mean, it's all Bills everywhere, right? Like this Dolphins defense, honestly, is not that great. I know they've played the Bills pretty well these last 2 games in this season. Like it's been they've won the first one, and then the second one was a close matchup, but it's pretty tough to tell like exactly where if you've got Tre'Davious White coming back and playing at a high level for the Bills, we'll see. Obviously the Bills safety play is a bit of a question. DeMar Hamlin is obviously out. Micah Hyde is not. I don't think he's ready to be back yet. So you're on to like some it's just Poyer out there. Right. So there is a chance that, maybe if you run those Mills concepts, you can get Tyreek Hill open on the post, which has happened a billion times. And maybe he's just so open that Skylar Thompson can hit him anyway. Some of that deep passing, like the Bills defense can get beat deep. We have seen that this season. So that is good. It's kind of like the Seahawks game a little bit, where it's like you're going to have to find some explosives somewhere. You're going to have to find some explosives and hope that Josh Allen throws those red zone picks, that they get all the way over there, kill some time, but don't come away with any points, right? Like that has been Josh's whole weakness this season, is sometimes he just loses his mind. In the first game, the defense played a very good game. Josh Allen was on the field for like 72 plays, and they weren't really able to score that many points. So like that's going to be what it comes down to, really, is like
I like to think, and this is just total like opinion, I like to think that going into the playoffs, like game one of the playoffs, you're not just going to see like a careless Josh Allen who's just throwing whatever like you may see in week 7 of the regular season or whatever. I just think
a lot of that also happened when he messed up his shoulder a little bit. Like,
and it wasn't it was like a massive heat wave. Like his receivers were like having heat stroke.
That Dolphins Bills game was a weird one, but I'm just talking in general about. I don't think any Dolphins fan would even be upset at us for picking the Bills pretty confidently.
God, no.
So
and
that
the Bills
probably tells you about the expectations of this game.
Right.
And the Bills' rushing offense has actually been quite good over the last month or so. It's really picked up, and they've been, I think, near the top of the league in yards per carry, even with the running back. It's not just all Josh Allen scrambles anymore either. They're actually able to just move the ball, handing it off to the running back. And if that can happen, watch out, because this Bills team gets really scary. This Bills offense gets really scary if that aspect of the team is on there. And yeah, the Dolphins offense is not a very effective rushing, because their line is bad. And then meanwhile, the Bills defense is top 5 and basically, or at least top 10 in any kind of run, whether that be from shotgun, under center. So if you're going to if you can shut that down and make Skylar Thompson throw it, like, yeah, it's going to be all Bills all day, in my opinion. And I think in Vegas's opinion, in most people's opinion. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we're going to have to see in the AFC playoffs 2 backup quarterbacks this week, because Tua and Lamar aren't playing. But yeah, it's
right.
It is what it is.
Yeah, the Bills are going to win, and the Bills they haven't felt dominant, but since they lost to the Vikings, they have not lost since. So
yeah, they're on quite the winning streak here.
Yeah, but
there's a God stat out there, by the way. There's a God stat that I've used, and I literally thought of this stat. I didn't know it existed a couple of years ago, trying to make money betting on the NCAA, and I was like trying to think of this formula, and I was like, what are the best stats? What are the best stats for predicting future performance? And I said, point differential is one. That's a really good one. And the other one, like Blaiden was mentioning earlier, like if you haven't played anybody, that should be a ding, like the strength of schedule. So I was like, I'll just put those two together into a stat. And I did tons of work on it. Like I found all this data from all the NCAA teams in the playoffs, and I found that I was predicting things pretty well, especially upsets. And then I found out that after doing all this work and like calculating for everybody, I found out that this stat already exists, and it's just simple rating. That's what simple rating system is. And the Bills are the best team from the NFL's simple rating system. Really? They are the best when it comes to point differential mixed with strength of schedule by a decent amount right now, which it's a very good stat. That stat is very predictive. And I remember I don't have numbers off the top of my head about exactly how predictive it is, but I remember the Buccaneers came into the wild card round and won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, even though they didn't win their division, but they dominated simple rating system, and they're the one who won it that year. So that was the same year that I did it for all the NCAA games. So I always kind of default to that stat as well, where it's just like when it comes to power rankings or seeing who's the best team there. And the Bills
were also number 1 last year.
Yep, and they lost.
And they were second the year before.
Right. So it's not the God stat as in just pick whoever's the highest simple rating system, and you'll win. You'll know who wins it all. But I think the Bills, by every metric, are a team to absolutely be reckoned with. I do think they have some weaknesses. That other wide receiver alongside Diggs, the offensive line still isn't super great, but the defense, outside of maybe a small handful of plays per game where they get beat, and maybe that'll like lose them a shootout against the Bengals or the Chiefs or something like that down the line. But this game, I just don't think the Dolphins have a shot. We'll see though. Maybe Dolphins fans, I've been wrong about the Dolphins before though. Or have I? I don't know. Actually, I kind of haven't, but
Tua is better than you thought he was.
Tua is better than I thought he'd be.
Me too.
That's right. Yeah. But then he was also worse than Dolphins fans thought he was for a stretch there. So we were both wrong for a couple. We were both a little bit wrong. So I think that's a fair take.
I thought I was wrong once, but I was wrong.
I thought it was wrong.
Bengals Ravens. With no Lamar, it's going to be tough for the Ravens to have a path here.
Man,
and they might not have
these wild card games are really not looking that good. If this was a different version of football, people would be up in arms.
You're right.
Sure.
You're right.
But don't let me. These games stink. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to give like here's my grand prediction for a game we saw last week. The Ravens probably aren't going to be able to move the ball very well.
Anthony Brown threw it 44 times last week, and Tyler Huntley has tendonitis in his arm, so it might be Anthony Brown again. He may be a little bit more of a gifted pure passer in terms of like arm talent, but like, I don't know, dude. You think about what we saw last year from the playoffs and from the Bengals, that Titans game, and the Titans are a team like the Ravens whose whole identity is running the football, and with DJ Reader and, you know, the linebackers at Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson, like they were able to build a wall and they were able to shut down the running game, right? And then through the air, Tannehill threw some picks, and they were able to win a game even though the Bengals offense played pretty terribly in that one. And in this game, like, why is it going to end up any different, man? Like, it's
the Ravens defense is feisty. It can make some plays, but ultimately,
maybe 200-yard Isaiah Likely game. He was killing it. He was so nice. 300-yard Isaiah Likely game, 4 touchdowns. That's
so you guys remember the league where I had to like forfeit my first 2 draft.
Yeah, he picks Dobbs and
I ended up not coming in last place in that league. So
that's kind of a stupid fantasy football like punishment, because it just ensures you get last because you don't get a
not me.
It ensures that you don't win the league because you get literally nothing. How many picks did you have to forfeit? Like the first 3?
The first two.
Yeah, that's dumb as shit, right? Like you don't get your first 2 picks for next year. You're just always gonna suck. What does this have to do?
I thought I picked up Isaiah Likely in that league, but it was in the other league.
I was about to say,
what does this have to do with anything?
Transition to the tangent.
I had Mark Andrews in one of my leagues, and he was out, so I picked up Isaiah Likely, and he went off for like.
That's a crazy tight end duo.
It really, bro. I love
Isaiah Likely's going to get really good here.
He's already really good, man. He's like that.
Yes, but anyway,
I don't have huge thoughts about this one. I'm sorry. We just saw it, and it's such a hard thing to come back from, unless it's like a Burrow disaster class and the defense makes up on a bunch of plays. This is a tough one.
Yeah. The defense, what they like to do is they like to change the picture. They love to rotate. They love to do all these crazy things where they'll look at 2 high and then it'll change to 1 high. And Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen are very good blitzers coming downhill. So they'll blitz one of those dudes and drop, Adafe away into coverage. They change the picture. You never quite know what's going on. And they try, it's a fun little chess match to watch Burrow versus this defense, because the Ravens just do so many crazy things, and they've got like, Roquan Smith is kind of a genius. They got a lot of like versatile, cool players that can line up anywhere and do anything, versus Burrow, who like can decipher these things very quickly. So it's a really cool chess match, and it's the same thing the Steelers do, and it's what has given Burrow a little bit of trouble this year. Because if you're the Vikings, right, and you line up in a static defensive look, it's the same thing every play, and it's zone all the time. Like if Burrow knows what to do, he's going to do it right. That's just his game. He's going to pick you apart. But when it's just a chaos game, like you can force him into some bad decisions, and maybe there'll be some blown coverages, and Jamar Chase will end up wide open for some touchdowns. And the Ravens defense has done a pretty good job recently avoiding those blown coverages, and has just been quite a good defense recently since Roquan Smith arrived. So like I think maybe there's a world where Burrow throws a pick. They try to force the ball like down the seams, right? They play a little bit more one high than teams usually do play against Burrow, and they try to get him to fire that ball at the seam and hope that his arm maybe isn't strong enough so to really fire it in there before the safety can get there. That's kind of what they do, and it works. Burrow does it like anyway a lot of the time, but there is a chance like it's going to be a chaos game, and that's all the go for it on every single fourth down. Break out the weirdest running plays Greg Roman can possibly think of, the end arounds, the pistol looks where there's like triple option, like all of this weird stuff.
The Ravens are going to pull everything out of their bag of tricks.
You got to pull everything. You got to just create a chaos game. Go for it. Like maybe triple option stuff and trick plays, and J.K. Dobbins throws a touchdown. Who knows? And get physical, right? Get big. And offensive line, you're going to have to play the game of your life, right? You're going to have to put the big boy pants on and create a lot of movement if they're going to win this game. And I don't know if I trust them to do it. It's the only path to victory that I can see is just a complete, maybe low scoring chaos game with a bunch of picks or something like that. Much like the first.
And then you rely on the leg of Justin Tucker.
That's what you do. It's like the first game against the Steelers where Burrow threw all those picks, and then Boswell hit the game-winning kick at the end.
We're getting a 70-yarder Justin Tucker game winner, I fear.
As soon as you get inside the 40-yard line, let Justin Tucker kick it.
Inside of your own 40-yard line.
Yeah, and
Justin Tucker's made like only a handful of kicks from out there.
Yeah, like bro, I'm putting Justin Tucker at number 1 on my top 100 this year.
He's missed a ton. If he makes All-Pro, it's a travesty.
I feel like every time I see you say like he's missed something, it's like a blocked kick or something that was from like 70 yards out. I think if I searched from Spawn Hour Tucker, it would be like 6 tweets of you celebrating a miss, and like 5 of those 6 would be like either a block or like a 69-yard attempt or something like that. Sometimes both.
Well, it's so
you
funny.
have no shame.
People be like, first off, I have no shame. I mean, I see people talk all the time. And dude, anywhere he can get it. And dude, he can hit it from like literally anywhere, like anywhere past a 50. I've seen people say this unironically. And no, he can't. People say, well, it gets blocked. Yeah. Do you know why it gets blocked when he's kicking from 66 yards away? Because he has to kick it so low, like every kicker. But, and I know, I'm not saying that's like something he's doing wrong. That's just the way it goes. But people have it in their head that's like,
he's going to figure it out. He's going to figure out how to kick it high, and then it's over for you.
Yeah. Well, he'll never learn that, I fear. But
anyway,
whatever. When Tucker misses a game-winning field goal in this game, I'm expecting tearful apologies.
If Tucker misses a game winner in this game, he will not be on the top 100 at all.
Okay.
You have my word. All right. But the most interesting game for wild card week. The most interesting game for wild card weekend is Jags Chargers. This is going to be an immaculate game. Mike Williams is supposed to play. Apparently the x-rays came back fine. No, literally Staley bailed. He's so lucky. This is insane. They would have had no deep passing threat at all, basically. But I'm currently leaning Jags on this game. I think the Jags defense has been playing really well as of late. I don't really trust the Chargers defense. And even though I trust Herbert under pressure against the Jags defense, I don't trust them to be able to run the ball very well. And that's the thing the Jags have been really good at. We talked about Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker and how well they set the edge and how patient they have been. I think they're going to be able to stop the run game, and it's going to be a lot of having to just kind of toss shit. And I think ultimately the Jags defense is going to be able to come away and make some plays. They've been pretty good about it the past couple of weeks. I think that trend continues.
Well, the last time these two teams played, the Jaguars crushed them. They won by, I think it was either 28-10 or I think it was 28-10 or 38-10. It ended with an 8. I think it was 30. It was 38-10.
Oh, God.
Nice. And yeah, they just dominated the trenches. The Jaguars outran the Chargers 151 yards to 22, and the Chargers never got a sack on Lawrence. So, and there's no reason to believe that couldn't happen again, because it's not like the rushing defense or offense for the Chargers, quite frankly, is like really, started to get locked down. I think they have gotten better on defense recently, but I think that's been more through the air than on the ground. I think they're still susceptible. I think their yards per carry over the last month is 26th in the league. 26th in the league. So, it's still not very good. But on the flip side, the Jaguars' rushing offense has also not been super efficient over the last month either. But I do think that they have the ability to control the trenches. And like I've said, this is kind of been a running theme. If you can make them one-dimensional, if you can make Justin Herbert throw the ball, if you can bottle up that rushing offense like you did last time, it should be pretty easy. There is no way there is a very clear path, because it's happened before. And I guess that's true for the Giants and Vikings and Buccaneers and Cowboys. Like I picked both of those teams to reverse their result from earlier. But with the Buccaneers Cowboys game, again, I think that seemed a little bit fluky, considering that was the only good rushing game that the Buccaneers had all year. And the Giants game was a 1-score, 60-yard game-winning field goal. This one, to me, was a pretty sustainable beatdown by the Jaguars. So there is that. I think Walker Little has been starting recently, and it'll be interesting to see him tested versus Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. But I like Walker Little. He's played a decent amount in the last 2 years, and he's always held up well. And Doug Peterson called this a benchmark game for him. I think there's a very real chance. I think he will. Obviously, it's Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa get beat a couple times, but I don't think they have maybe the liability on a line that would cause Lawrence to get sacked a bunch of times when he got sacked 0 times the last time around. So, but there's also a very clear Chargers path to victory, which I'll talk about maybe a little bit later. But I don't know if you guys have anything else to say.
I will say, even if the Jags rushing attack falls a little bit flat, as it hasn't been super elite as of late, Trevor Lawrence has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks over the last month. Since week 14, he's like top 5 in EPA per play. So I do think that having him, and he's only thrown, I think, like 1 interception over this stretch too. So, I mean, he's going to be able to really string together, I think, some good performances through the playoffs. Not just in
they've played the Titans 2 times in the last 5 games. I wonder if that's skewing their rushing numbers down, as the Titans basically have a rushing defense that nobody can conquer.
And perhaps that has upped their pressure rate numbers as well. But I think Josh Allen is pretty sustainably a very good pass rusher, and they're good against the run no matter what. What I think the Chargers' path is, last time I rewatched that game, they only had 1 RPO run, and it was their most successful run of the day. It went 8 yards. They only had 1. I think
8 yards.
If you're looking at this Jaguars front 7, like, they do have some young linebackers. I do think that you want a little bit more RPO action. I think you want to get them confused, maybe, like you saw what the Eagles did and how bad that kind of messed up the Devin Lloyd's kind of season, because I think he was kind of seeing ghosts after that for a while because there was so much motion and confusion. And the Chargers will never run an offense quite like that, but they are known to run some RPOs, and I think that should maybe be the game plan, is don't just have these straight runs up the middle, man. Like, don't just, like, last time it just didn't work. They'd run outside zone and the Jaguars would just shred their interior line, and they didn't have Corey Linsley, so that's a good thing. But it's still, Slater, I don't think he'll come back in the wild card game. Maybe if they win this one, he'll potentially come back. But I think that you want a little bit more RPOs. if the Chargers are going to make a run, the main thing is they have to be more detail oriented, because I've given up on the idea that they're going to bomb it down the field. You got Justin Herbert, like throw it, get guys on the move, like throw it in the intermediate ranges more than you do, like throw it deep more than you do. Like it's just not going to happen. But hypothetically, it would work as long as you just get your shit together and don't beat yourself. Don't get your protection set correctly. Don't allow all these free rushers like they've been allowing all year, right? Get things blocked up. When you're running an option route, run it correctly. Don't settle down when you should keep running, or keep running when you should settle down versus zone or something like that. If they could just get the little things right and the details right, Herbert is able to get the ball out fast enough, get the ball out accurately enough, and with enough velocity that zone coverage can't really close on these receivers. So if they just don't beat themselves, they can move the ball through the air. I just don't know if I trust them to do that, because all year they've just been, messy, especially setting protections. And I was gonna
ask, do you think from the Jags defensively we'll see a lot of light boxes and heavy zones?
I think with the Jags, we'll see a little bit of everything. I think that's kind of the Jags' MO is.
Well, I know, like against the Titans, they just went like, they would line like 6-7 guys up on the line and they would just rush all of them.
Yeah. I think that's a decent strategy for them is because they do have a lot of kind of depth. They got Arden Key, they've got Trayvon Walker, they've got Josh Allen, they've got Falaronzu Fatukasi and Robertson Harris. They've got like a decent amount of defensive linemen. And when you get in that bear front with 5 guys, that does give you all these one-on-ones, and your dudes can win those one-on-ones. Right. So yes, I do think that we will see a lot of that bear front that worked so well bottling up the run. But at the same time, you don't really need, you may want to just drop more guys back in coverage against a team like the Chargers, because their running game doesn't worry you as much as the Titans and Derrick Henry does. So I think we'll see a bit of both. I think they're not a team that just lines up in the same stuff and runs it over and over and over again. Like some guys are just like, this is what we're going to do. And you are going to play, you can do whatever you want. Right. Like, good luck. We're so good at this. Like, we're just going to do, that's our identity. That's what we're going to do. The Jaguars, they'll do a little bit of everything. They'll depending on the game plan. So it's a little bit tough to tell. I think they'll do some of it, but I don't think it's going to be quite the same level versus the Titans. I think you're going to see a little bit more nickel over fronts from them. And then the other thing about the Chargers is I do think they match up decently with Jacksonville, because they've got the guys to defend the slots. Like, you can put Derwin James on Evan Ingram, and you can put Bryce Callahan, a very good slot corner, on Christian Kirk. And those are their best man beaters. And if the Chargers run a lot of man, which they do, and have those guys to take away those guys and funnel the ball maybe more to the outside to Zay Jones and what's his name? Marvin Jones, then I think that they actually match up pretty well. So it's a pretty close game. I think, like, on the outside, I do think the Chargers defense matches up well with this Jaguars offense because of what they can do with their slot defenders. And I don't think the Jaguars rushing attack is maybe going to, I don't think it's going to be quite as lopsided as the first game, but I do think that this one the Jaguars win. I think the trench advantage and the fact they won so convincingly last time is
also, I think the Jags have a coaching advantage, and that matters a lot when you get to the playoffs.
I agree with that as well. Doug Peterson, you let him into the dance, he might win the Super Bowl with Nick Foles, right? So right. I lean Jacksonville, Matt. That's
where are you at, Matt? You gonna oppose us again and take the Chargers?
No, I don't think the Chargers are particularly good. And I wonder if the Jaguars beat them here. If it's like, the Chargers, you were kind of supposed to be that fourth team in the AFC up there with the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals. And you're like, man, we're not even fifth. Who even knows if we're better than a healthy Ravens if they keep Lamar? I think that'll be pretty crazy. But yeah, I like the Jaguars. I kind of like them. I like them pretty confidently. I think there's a chance this is not a close game again.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers were playing their starters against a horrible Broncos team and got beat pretty convincingly. And just the entire year, it's been tough sledding for them the entire year. I do think their defense is playing a little bit better recently, but yeah, I agree, Bladen, that coaching advantage is also like Doug Peterson is a dude, man. He almost did it again. He almost did. Was he the coach? Yeah, I think he was. The next season where they played the Saints in the playoffs and Foles was starting again, and they almost won against a very good Saints team in the playoffs again, but Alshon Jeffrey dropped that pass. Like he is.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I believe that was a Peterson team because it was Sirianni. It wasn't a Sirianni team. It wasn't a Sirianni team.
I mean, there's no way they would have fired Peterson after Peterson. Didn't get fired.
And then the next year was
Peterson didn't.
And then the next year, I believe, was the disaster class
with like Wentz
meltdown.
And then they realized Hurts is the GOAT.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm picking Jaguars here. So I think there may be a chance where the Chargers defense plays very well, and Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk are kept a little bit quiet. And if that can happen, the Chargers can win. And if they don't make stupid mistakes, if they can set their freaking protections right and give Herbert actually a little bit of time against a team that blitzed him at a pretty high rate last time they played, I don't think it's impossible. I'm not super confident in this one, but I do think it's the Jags. It was always, what did they say down in Duval? It was always the Jags. It's always the Jags. Duval. Yes.
Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Can't ask for much more than this.
This one I think will be a good game. This one I'm actually excited about.
I'm very excited for this game. But
so
Matt thinks Matt thinks it won't be close. That's okay.
No, I mean it might be. I don't know. I see the potential for a blowout being very apparent.
I mean, 38-10.
They blew them out last time. That's how. I think the Jaguars have grown as a team significantly since then, and I think the Chargers are kind of just the same guys that they've been all year.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't disagree necessarily.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
But that pretty much wraps things up. That's how we see the wild card round unfolding. Very exciting weekend of football. We'll be back, of course, to recap these games, and we will discuss the divisional round next week as well. But until next time, thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.